The scream cut through the bright afternoon like a blade, sharp enough to stop time, sharp enough to turn a tired single father into something unbreakable. A small voice cried out for help, trembling with fear, and in that instant the world narrowed to one truth only: a child was in danger, and someone had to stand between innocence and cruelty. That moment would follow him into the next day, when a powerful CEO would come looking for the men who had taken down two men with nothing but courage, desperation, and a heart that refused to look away. If you believe that kindness still matters, that ordinary people can change lives in extraordinary ways, please take a moment to like this video, comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Light of Kindness. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Armin Halim had not planned to be a hero that day. He was a 38-year-old warehouse supervisor with a permanently tired back and a life that felt smaller every year. Since his wife had passed away 3 years earlier after a sudden illness, the world had become a cycle of responsibility and quiet grief. His mornings were filled with packing lunches and tying shoelaces, his evenings with balancing bills and folding clothes long after his daughter fell asleep. He loved his daughter Samira with a depth that frightened him sometimes, because she was the last fragile piece of joy he had left. That afternoon, the sun was high and unforgiving, casting hard shadows along the city sidewalks as he walked Samira home from school, their hands linked, her small fingers warm and trusting in his. They passed through a commercial district buzzing with daytime life. Delivery trucks rumbled by, office workers crossed streets with phones pressed to their ears, and a faint smell of coffee drifted from a nearby cafe. Armin's mind was elsewhere, calculating how to stretch his paycheck until the end of the month, wondering if he could afford Samira's growing curiosity about art classes. He almost missed the commotion ahead. Near a narrow alley between two office buildings, raised voices broke through the hum of traffic. A woman stood backed against a brick wall, her posture defensive, her face pale with fear. Two men loomed close to her, blocking her path, their body language aggressive and careless, as if the city belonged to them. The weight of the moment pressed down on Armin, unexpected and heavy. He felt exposed, uncertain, unsure of why a man with such power would seek him out. Rayhan spoke of debt and gratitude, of a life altered by a single choice made in daylight. He spoke of the courage it took to act when walking away would have been easier. Armin listened, uncomfortable with praise, his thoughts drifting to Samira's school, to the rent due at the end of the month, to the way life seemed to test him without warning. Rayhan offered help, not as charity but as recognition. He spoke of opportunities, of a position within his company that would provide stability and growth. He spoke of values, of building a culture where people looked out for one another. Armin's first instinct was to refuse. Pride and fear tangled in his chest. He had survived on his own for years. But then he thought of Samira, of her future, of the example he was setting not just through one brave act but through the choices that followed. By the time the sun dipped past its highest point, casting long shadows across the warehouse floor, Armin agreed to consider the offer. It was not the promise of money that swayed him, but the possibility of breathing room, of time and energy to give his daughter more than survival. Rayhan left with a firm handshake and a promise to follow up, his presence lingering like a reminder that the world could respond to kindness with kindness. That afternoon, Armin picked Samira up from school under a sky so blue it felt almost unreal. As they walked home, he noticed the city differently. The same streets, the same noise, but something had shifted inside him. Samira skipped along, carefree once more, and Armin felt a quiet pride settle in his chest. He had not planned to change his life. He had simply refused to ignore someone else's pain. Days later, Armin began his new role, trading the warehouse's relentless pace for an office filled with light and possibility. He learned quickly, driven by gratitude and a renewed sense of purpose. Rayhan kept his word, mentoring him, encouraging him to bring his grounded perspective into a world that often forgot the value of ordinary decency. Samira flourished too, enrolling in art classes, her laughter filling their apartment again. The past did not vanish, but it softened, making room for hope. Just before the end of this story, we have a special request for you. Please comment below and share what this moment meant to you, or tell us about a time when kindness changed your life. As the story of that afternoon spread quietly through the company and beyond, it became less about a fight and more about a choice. A choice to step forward in daylight, to listen to a child's plea, to believe that one person could make a difference. Armin never saw himself as a hero. He was simply a father who heard a cry and answered it. And sometimes, that is enough to change everything. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that courage and compassion still exist in ordinary people, please like, comment, and share this video. Your engagement helps spread these stories of hope and keeps the light of kindness shining for others who need it.